Hello, and welcome to the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse Coffee Break Monthly Webinar Series. I'm Tanya Lowry St. John with the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse, or HHDW, in the Office of Public Health Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We're going to use the next 30 minutes to learn how to build your own report with the 2022 birth data in hhdw.org. We'll cover reports with birth counts and percentages for birth weight, preterm births, and prenatal care, and reports with population-based rates for birth, teen birth, and fertility. I'll also give you a link to birth record data that we have in Hawaii Health Matters. The presentation and demo should take about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a few minutes left for a hands-on activity and questions so that we finish up in half an hour. Let's get started. Vital statistics records in Hawaii are managed by the Office of Health Status Monitoring and the Hawaii State Department of Health. A birth certificate is issued for every birth that occurs in the state of Hawaii, and birth certificates contain important information about the delivery, the health of the mother and baby, and demographic information about the parents. Please note that for babies who are adopted at birth, the birth record contains demographic information about the adopted mother, not the birth mother. HHDW has birth record data available from 2000 to 2022. However, changes in the birth record in 2014 make some measures not comparable before and after that date. When that happens, we've used the 2014 date forward within the system, and the rest of the data is available in the warehouse by request. In accordance with the National Centers for Health Statistics, the following suppression criteria are used in all birth queries. Cells with counts between 1 and 9 are suppressed for confidentiality, and rates based on cells with fewer than 20 counts are suppressed for statistical reliability. So let's dive in. To get to the birth record data, first navigate to the hhdw.org, and this is our homepage. Here you can learn a little bit more about HHDW, and there's a website overview for a video about how to use all the features, since we know we have a lot of new people on today. Also, scrolling down on our homepage, you'll see that we have an announcement about our most recent data release, where you can register for the coffee break. News and announcements will have the featured content on our Hawaii Health Matters site. You can also follow us on Instagram or see what our latest feed is. Throughout this site, whenever you see a red box with a white arrow, you can go ahead and click on that, and that'll bring you back up to the top. You can quickly navigate to our Build Your Own Report system or to Hawaii Health Matters, but for now, we're going to come up to Data Sources and look at the birth data page. Each data source in the system has its own page, and this is a great place to start your querying. So on this page, you're going to see some information about the birth data itself, how you can get some national data via CDC Wonder, how you can get a hold of our data release notes, which we'll cover again in a second, and then you'll see the number of births per year since 2000 here that we in records that we have within the data warehouse. Scrolling down, you can see a report request button. So if you have been looking at the data and you still can't quite figure out what you need, or you need some more help, you can submit a report request to us. If you're interested in getting record level data to do your own analysis, you can click on this button and it will give you instructions on how to proceed there. And we also have a lot of extra documentation that can be helpful for you. And then scrolling down, we have information about the National Vital Statistics System that we get this from, or this feeds into CDC Wonder, and then also the Hawaii State Department of Health Vital Statistics, which is the Office of Health Status Monitoring. Up at the top of the page, you can navigate quickly to the Hawaii Health Matters site or to build your own custom birth report. So here we're at the birth query module health indicator selection page. And again, we have a little bit of background information and those data release notes. We're going to show you some pieces of those today, but very important piece of information to follow. And we'll have more details about some of the things that I mentioned today. Also, you'll have a video. So this has the last coffee break webinar right now. And then this one today will be loaded up here after we get it edited. Then you can see here that we're going to have 3 different kinds of queries in the system. We have counts and percentages, population-based rates, and population-based rates by race ethnicity. Whenever you see this bar in the system with a little white triangle, it means you can open it to expand it or close it to collapse it. So we're going to run our quick counts number of birth query. Oh, another thing is whenever you see the question mark in the system, you can hover over it and that will give you some more information about the line item that you're looking at. This brings us to our live birth count query. So as our standard query within the system, and those of you who have used our system before Might remember that our default query is for the state and for the last 3 years. So here you can see this is the infants who were born in the state of Hawaii over the last 3 years. This is our query criteria box, which you check to make sure what you're looking at. And then we have a chart. You can hover over to get the information on the chart, and you can scroll down to the data table, and you can see then the data for that time period, and that can be exported to Excel. Scrolling down, let's say if you're interested in this and you're saying, maybe what I really want to look at is the pregnancy risk assessment and monitoring survey because I'm interested in maternal and child health. You can click here and that will take you to the dataset selection page. Or maybe I want to learn more about the birth and maternity health topic that they have, which will show different information we have across surveys. So you can click here and that will take you to the health topics page. Scrolling down further, you'll see the technical notes for each data report. So for here, we'll have information about Hawaii resident births, when we suppress the estimates and how, US data, and then this data sources, here is where you'll find the information about how to cite the data that you get from the system. And then there's that 2014 data issue, a better explanation of that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to click on this button to go back up to the top. The power in the system is your ability to modify your query. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button here. And this brings me to the query builder for birth data. In this, the first 6 steps are ways that I would filter my query. So if I want to make it to decrease or increase what data I'm looking at, I'm going to do that here in these steps. And step 7 will allow me how I'm going to display that data. So for our birth counts and percentages, you can look at it by with the infant's birth location for state, county, or island, or the mother's residence. Could be for Hawaii state, county, island, community, school complex, and primary care service area, depending on your area of interest. Both of these can be important to you. You can look at the data by individual years. You can group them. You can also do custom year groupings in the system. You can look at the data by select mother characteristics or father characteristics, select infant characteristics, and prenatal care characteristics. For this one, let's go ahead and take a look at the data by births by island. So if we're going to go here, we're going to look at geographic area. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select mother's island of residence. And if I want, I can scroll back down to hit jump to submit, or I can also click on this link here, which will bring me here, and I can submit this query. And this is going to bring me to the new query, which will show me the number of live births in these past 3 years by mother's island of residence. So I can see them here and scroll over. I can also come to the data table. One of the things you can do in the system is whenever you see this sort of upright ellipse, you can go ahead and click on that, and it allows you to sort the data, and whatever you sort in the table will also sort here in the columns. So I can see if I'm interested in, do I need to do maternal and child health or prenatal care on Lanai? Yes, in fact, we do, because about 32 women a year give birth who are residents of Lanai, right? So this is a neat way to sort of look at this data. So we're going to scooch back over and look at, I'm going to hit here to select a new indicator. So I can see that that same process is what I would do to do any of these counts and percentages queries. So I have number of births, I have some presets queries by infant birth weight, for prenatal care, and also for preterm births. And all of the queries in here can be viewed by 2 different dimensions. So I could look at it by county and preterm birth, or so on and so forth. So just as a recap, the data in the counts and percentages has the most geographies available, and it's the queries that we can do that you can look at where the infants were born as well as where the mother resides. It has the most comfortability in terms of year groups, also in terms of mother and father characteristics, and in terms of different infant and prenatal care characteristics, and all of these can be viewed by 2 dimensions. One of the things that people ask us a lot about is our race ethnicity data. The way that we assign race ethnicity is according to the Departments of Health Office of Health Status Monitoring algorithm, which I have displayed here. It is also available in the data notes. And then we have a chart in the data release notes that will allow you to see what we do as well. But I wanted to bring this up because it's always an area that people ask about, and it's going to become important as we move through the kinds of different queries that you can do in the system. So again, data release notes are also in the data request. It's in our race ethnicity documentation. So now let's look at the population rate reports. There are two sections. These sections include population, they only include births to Hawaii residents because these are going to be population rates. And they cover three areas. They cover crude birth rate, so that's the number of births per 1,000 underlying population, the fertility rate, so that would be the births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44, and the teen birth rate, which is births per 1,000 girls aged 15 to 19. In order to calculate these, we need population denominators, and we get these from the census, but they're a little bit different. So the first denominator that we get is from the annual county resident population estimates from the census, and they have released a new version again of the 2020 and the 2021 data. So we've loaded all 3 years of those. These things happen around a new census timeframe. There's a lot of sort of jockeying with the numbers. So we have the latest estimates up there. So if you've done previous queries on this, you might want to rerun because they may have changed slightly. And then the next population denominator we use is based on that DOH race ethnicity. Because that is captured and codified in a non-standard way according to the census, we have to actually get a special denominator, which is a 5-year aggregate that we get from the census to run these queries. So previously in the system, we had data from 2010 to 2014, and we now also have data from 2016 to 2020. It's a special population file created for us. And so now in here, you'll see there'll be two different population estimates, one that you're going to use when you do queries from 2010 to 2015, and the other one gets used when you do queries from 2016 forward. This all happens in the background in the system, but for those of you who've been using it before, you may notice slight differences, so I want to make you aware that this is going on. So there are certain considerations you need to have when you're doing birth rate queries. And first is, because of our small population size, the geographies that are available for this are only state and county level. It's very hard to get good population estimates sub those. So that's what we have for this one. And it's only for births to resident mothers. So non-residents are excluded from these queries. So you might notice the numbers of total births are a little smaller than when you look at the whole infants because these are only resident mothers. Next is the population rates are going to be available across the time period from year 2000 to 2022, and that denominator will change every year because those are from the county level estimates. But the DOH race ethnicities are only available from 2010 to 2022 because we had to do those two special buys for those denominators. And we have two stable denominators that are going to be used across those calculations. So because they have slightly different denominators for the population rates and the DOH rates, you want to use caution when comparing them directly. So I just want to be really clear on that. And then also that reminder that because they re-released the 2020 and the 21 data, we have updated those in the system. So you want to take a good look at those as you're doing longitudinal queries. So let's run a population rate report. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up to get it out of my way, and let's take a look at the crude birth rate per 1,000 population. So again, I can hover over here to get information about that, what that's going to be, and I'm going to click on it, and that's going to bring me my standard query, which is going to be for the whole state for the last 3 years. And I can see here that the crude birth rate per 1,000 people is about 10.8 births per 1,000 people in Hawaii, and that has remained relatively stable then for these last 3 years. But has that always been the case? I'm going to go ahead and click here, go into Modify Query. And for this one, I'm just going to say, let's take a look at it across the entire time period. So this is one of those nice things about having all this data in one place. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and select all of this at once. I'm also going to show you a different kind of graph. We have different charts that are available in the system. So let's take a look at this with a line with error bars, and we're going to submit. And now we can see that data then in a line graph across time. So this might be enough for you, but you might also just want to scroll down, and you can see that the crude birth rate per 1,000 persons went from 14.4 in 2000 down to 10.8 in 2022. So that's about a 25% reduction in birth rate. So my next question might be, well, is that same thing over each of the counties? So I can come back up here and I can go ahead and I can modify that query. And I can say, I'd like to look at the data now by year and geographic area. And I'm going to go ahead and select county. And I don't need to go and select all counties. That's going to be the default. That'll be in there. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And then this will give me a chart that will show me the different accrued birth rate per 1,000 persons by county for all 4 counties. This can be a little bit crowded. So one of the neat things that the system allows you to do is, for example, if I want to focus in on Hawaii County, I can go ahead and here in the legend is deselect what I don't want to look at. This allows me to quickly examine things closer that I might want to take a look at and see. So it's just a neat option there. And then again, you have all the underlying data here, and you also have the ability to export that to Excel. Okay, I hope this brief overview was helpful and helped you to become more familiar with the customizable birth record reports in HHDW. And I want to give you a few minutes to work on a hands-on activity so you can try it for yourself. So these are going to be my questions, and I'm also going to put them in the chat box so that you can see them there as well. So what percent of babies were born in Hawaii with late or no prenatal care each year from 2020 to 2022? And then by mother's DOH, race, ethnicity, which group was most likely to receive no or late prenatal care? What was the fertility rate in Hawaii over the past 3 years? So use that population one for that. What's the trend and which age group had the highest fertility rate from 2020 to 2022? And then lastly, what were the teen birth rates by DOH, race, ethnicity for 2020 to 2022? So I'll let you start working on that. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, let's work through. So the first question is, I'm going to come back here to select a new indicator, and it's going to be what percent of babies were born in Hawaii with late or no prenatal care each year from 2020 to 2022. And you're going to come down here. This is going to be accounts and percentages, prenatal care. So you can look at just the folks that got the prenatal care in the first trimester, late or no prenatal care, so third or no, or just also no prenatal care. We have some pre-done queries in here that can be helpful to you, but we're going to look at this one. And just do a quick click here and you can see then, so the data would be in 2020, it was 11.3%, in 2021, it was 11.3%, and in 2022, it was 13.4%. So it was actually quite a bit higher for us in that. And overall, that time period, it's 12%. And the next question is by mother's DOH, race, ethnicity, which group was most likely to receive late or no prenatal care? And I can come up here and I'll modify that query. And I want to say looking at mother's race, ethnicity. So I can go in there and submit. And I can see the chart here, but I also might want to just go ahead and sort it in the data table. And so you can see that among other Pacific Islander women, 27.6% reported receiving late or no prenatal care. And if you look at that by comparison, compared to they're about over twice as likely to receive late or no prenatal care from Native Hawaiian women, and then over 4 times as likely from white women. And then so next question is, what is the fertility rate for Hawaii over the past 20 years? So here I can go back and I can do select indicator. I'll show you another trick is I can just go back to measure selection. You can always use those little breadcrumbs across the top to help you navigate the system as well. I'm going to go ahead and close this one down because I know it's going to be a rate, and it's the fertility rate for Hawaii over the past 20 years. And I'm going to modify this query so I can add more years to it. So I'm going to hit time period and go down to 2003 and enter and then hit submit. So over the last 20 years, the fertility rate overall was 68.8 per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44, but it was originally about 72, a high of about 77 in 2008, and is now at 58.9, so a decreasing trend. If you look over here. And then maybe I want to know, is it across all ages? You know, what's happening here? Because we do have, these are at least women of a childbearing age. I can come back here and modify this query. And I'd say I want to just look at the last 3 years per this question. So again, I'm just holding down my shift key. And then I'm going to change and look at it by age group. And hit submit. And I can see here that the group with the highest fertility was going to be women aged 30 to 34. So that was a 95.5, followed by the women aged 25 to 29. So you can see that information there. And then the last question was, what were the teen birth rates by DOH, race, ethnicity? Coming back up here, going down to DOH, race, ethnicity, and teen birth rates. And this is just going to be the standard question. So overall, the teen birth rate was 12.3. And here's one of those where I'm going to go ahead and sort it. And you can see again, there's a big variation across by race ethnicity in terms of teen birth rate, from 2.8 per 1,000 teens among Japanese young women, and then up to 43.9 among other Pacific Islander young women. And then the next question was, do they vary by county? So we should have this one down by now. Go ahead and click here. And then I'm just going to say I want to see it by geographic area. And I want to see it by county. And you can see that the teen birth rate is quite a bit higher in Hawaii County, at 16.5, compared to Honolulu and Kauai, where it's down closer to 11. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you take the next half hour to work on your own and explore the birth module. Also, please note that the birth record indicators have been updated in hawaiihealthmatters.org, and a link to those can be found in the notes. If you have any questions, please contact me at profiles@hhdw.org. Next month, we'll be reviewing the 2022 Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System data in hhdw.org and hawaiihealthmatters.org. And in April, we'll be covering the Socio Needs Index. Mahalo and enjoy the rest of your day.